Hi everyone, my name is Maribel. Today we're going to be building a robot using the color sensor. So last time we built a wheeled robot. We were able to make our robot move forwards and backwards. So we could see that robots, they can move as if they have a brain, and they're mechanical. So they can copy traits of human beings. They can make decisions if we program them correctly. Now, what are some problems that a robot might run into if it were on a road, driving with other cars? It would have to be able to watch out for other cars. It would have to see the incoming traffic. There are a lot of other factors that come into play that make a robot driving on a car a lot more of a difficult challenge than a person driving on a car. That's because we have 5 senses. Humans can see, they can feel, they can hear, they can taste, and they can smell. And that helps us to make intelligent, informed decisions. So people can argue that robots are not smart because they don't have those things. But that's not true. In fact, we can make robots have all those 5 senses. Do you know how we're able to do that? With the magic of the use of sensors. Using different kinds of sensors like the color or light sensor, touch sensor, sound sensors, temperature sensors, and distance sensors, robots are able to make informed decisions and behave as if they had a brain just like a human. So today we're going to see the color sensor work with our robot so that it can make a decision if we program it. So first we're going to build the robot, and then we're going to work with the color sensor so that our robot's going to keep on moving. When it detects a certain color, it's going to stop, and that's going to be the task for today. So we're going to be working with our brick. We're working with 2 large motors. We have some other pieces, but the main treasure for today is the color sensor. So for today, we're going to be working with our brick. We have 2 large motors, and of course, we're using our color sensor in order to detect a certain color. So today we're going to be using our brick, 2 large motors, and our color sensor in order to detect a color and have it stop once it detects that color. So let's get started on the build. The first thing you want to do is to grab your 2 large motors. The build's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. You're going to start by taking your 2 large motors, So we're going to start with the build. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have all your pieces out in front of you. We're working with the brick, the 2 large motors, and of course, the color sensor. So let's get started with the build. It'll take approximately 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll get on with the program. So to begin the build, take your 2 large motors, take a 5x7 frame, put 2 black pins on the sides of your frame, and you're putting those black pins into the middle pinhole and the top pinhole. And insert those onto the sides of your motor. Now taking a 5x11 frame, turn your 2 motors over, place the frame into the 2 beams, and then secure them on each side, putting 2 pins with bushings into the 2 pinholes on the sides of your motors. So you're putting 2 on the outside for your first motor. And then on the other end, you're going to put 2 more to hold our frame in place. Now you're going to put that aside. Take your 2 tires. You're going to take your 2 axles of size 7 and your 2 half bushings. Insert your axle into your tire and put your half bushing, and you'll do the same for your other tire. And now put each wheel into the axle hole of the front of your motor. And put the wheel up against the front of your motor. Those are the 2 wheels. Now, turn your 2 motors upside down. Take your ball bearing with the steel ball. Take 2 double cross blocks and 2 axles of size 3. Put the 2 axles through each of the axle holes in one of the cross blocks. Stick that through the sides of your ball bearing, and then clip and secure the other end with your other cross block. Now take 2 black pins, insert them into the 2 middle pinholes furthest away from the inside of the motor. So you want your ball bearing to sit on the very end. And we're going to clip the 2 black pins into the 2 pinholes of our cross blocks. And that's going to allow our car to move backwards and forwards. So once you have that clipped in, taking your 2 pin connectors and 2 beams of size 7 and 2 black pins, you're going to insert the 2 pin connectors on either end, on each end of your beams, and you're going to insert the other beam of size 7 on top, and then you're going to connect it to this frame next to the tires by placing 2 black pins on each end, and then inserting the beam into the 2 black pins. Now taking a cross block of size 2, once you've attached the frame, take 2 cross blocks of size 2 and 2 pin with axles, as well as 4 black pins. You're going to insert the axle side of your blue Technic pin into the axle and place 2 black pins into the pinholes of your cross block and insert that at the back of your motor. So I'm lining it up with these size 3 beams, and you want to make sure that the blue Technic pin is on the inside of your 2 motors. So you're going to do the same for your other cross block. And then you're going to take a beam of size 7 and sit that right on top of those 2 blue Technic pins. Once you've added in the 2 cross blocks, you're going to grab a beam of size 7 and just place that right into the 2 blue Technic pins. And now we're going to mount our brick onto the base of our car. To do that, take 2 black pins and put them each in between the 2 pin connectors. So you're putting them all over in the 2, and you're just going to ignore the middle pinhole. And then you're going to put 4 black pins onto the other beam of size 7. And now you're going to mount your brick by putting the screen on the same side as where you have your 2 tires. And you're just going to clip that in. That our brick is on to our car. And now you're just going to take your 2 cables and connect your motors to your brick. So first put them into the 2 motors. Now since we're using motors, that means that our cables are not going to go in the number ports, they're going to go into the lettering ports. So make sure that you're putting it at the front where the screen is. It's going to go on the other side. And it doesn't matter which 2 ports you put in. Just remember that when you're programming, that you're putting in the ports that you have clipped in. So I'm using B and C. So my program is going to make sure that it has B and C at the corner when we're programming the large motors. So once that's clipped in, we've connected. And now, before we get on with the rest of the build, we're going to look at how the color sensor works. So to see how it works, we're going to take a cable, we're going to connect it to our brick. Because it's a sensor, it goes in the number ports. So we're going to go to, say, port 1. And now we're going to go to the main menu, click the right button twice until you're in port view. Click the port view, and you should see the color sensor. And what I want you guys to notice is that if you shine it on a white object, and you have to go close enough to see this, you should be getting, so I have a white table, you should be getting a very high number. It has to be close enough to the object, but on my screen, I have 100. Now, if I shine it on a dark object, you can even shine it onto the wheel of your car, or, since we're using a black tape for this build, grab your black tape, shine it onto the object, and the number should be very low. So right now I have 14 on my screen. So what does that mean? It means that the darker the color, the lower the number. The brighter the color, so if you have bright white, the higher the number. So pure black is read as 0, and pure white is read as 100. So that's how we're going to use our color sensor. Our brick is going to be detecting those numbers, those threshold values, in order to determine what to do when it spots a certain color. Make sense? So we're going to put that aside for now, and now we're going to work on attaching our color sensor to the rest of our build. So to do that, take your 2x3 cross blocks, take 2 pin width ridges, insert it through the 2 pinholes of your color sensor, then insert those 2 2x3 cross blocks onto the sides of each of those pin width ridges, and now put 2 blue Technic pin width axles, put the axle side in to the axle hole of your cross blocks, making sure that the pin is facing away from the front of the motor, the front of the sensor, and then insert a size 5 beam and insert that into the center so that the 2 blue Technic pins go into the beam. And now you're going to take a size 5x7 frame and 4 black pins, and you're going to take 2 black pins, insert them on the outer pinholes on the shortest side of your frame. Take the other 2 black pins and place them on either end of your size 5 beam. And now to attach the frame to the sensor, all you're going to do is put the 2 black pins onto the corner so that it frames your color sensor. And we're going to attach this to the front on the side where the wheels are. We're going to clip in so that the front of the sensor is facing down towards the table. And you're going to clip that onto the bottom beam so that it attaches to your car. And now all you have to do is attach it with your cable. So attach it into the color sensor. Because it's a sensor, we're going to go to the number ports at the back. Again, it doesn't matter which port you put, just make sure that it matches up with your program when we turn it on. And that's it for the build. So we're going to work on the program. So what's the goal? We're going to have it detect a black tape, and when it detects that black tape, we want our car to stop. So first our car, we want it to be moving at a certain speed. If it sees black, then it's going to stop moving. So make sure you have some black tape out so you can use this program. And we're going to get started with the program. So what do you think is the first step? We're going to work on having our car move forward. So we're not working with the color sensor just yet. So first we want our robot to drive forward until it sees the color. So we're going to work with the 2 large motors. So drag the large motor steering block for both large motors. Drag that up and make sure it lines up with the ports that you have here. You're going to click on, and you're going to click a speed of 50. You can change the speeds, but for my program I use 50. That's just going to determine how fast our robot will be moving forward. Once you've selected the steering, what do you think is the next block? We're working with the color sensor. So to access the color sensor, you're going to go to the weight block, click color sensor, So we're going to get started with the program. We have our build complete. Our goal is to have our robot drive forward. If it sees the black tape, so we have the black tape out. Once it sees that black tape, we want it to stop moving. So that's going to be the task for today. So open up the program and let's get started. So what do you think is the first block we're going to want to drag up? We're going to first work on moving the robot. So we're going to work with the large motors. So grab the steering for the large 2 motors and drag that up to the program. Make sure the ports for your 2 large motors line up with the ports that you have on your program. And then you're going to select on, you're going to select 0 so that it's going straight forward. And for the speed, I picked 50, but up to you as to how fast you want your robot to be moving forward. But make sure it is 0 for the type, because we want it to go in a straight line. And so that means that our robot is going to be moving forward, but we want it to stop when it detects black with the color sensor. So what do you think is the next block we're going to want to drag up? We're going to grab the weight block. The reason is because we want it to drive forward and wait until it detects a certain color. So first, drag the weight block, and then go to color sensor, click compare, and click radiant light intensity. Make sure that the port for your color sensor matches up with the port that you have at the back of your brick. And then you're going to do type 4, and you're going to select a threshold of 50. What does that mean? It means that we want our color sensor to look for a color that is less than, so that's type 4. When you select 4, it means you're looking for the less than sign. So if it detects a color less than 50, so remember the number that we detected with our color sensor. If it's black, it's going to be fairly dark, so it will definitely be under 50. We want our robot to wait until it sees something that is less than 50, and then we want it to do something once it detects that. So what's going to be the next command? Our goal, remember, is to have it drive forward and stop when it detects that color. Therefore, the next command is going to be to drag the steering block for the 2 large motors, drag that next to the weight block, and you're going to click off, and then make sure the ports line up, and that's going to complete the program. So that's everything. Now we're going to try it out, and we're going to upload it to our brick. You can use Bluetooth or USB, whatever is convenient. And let's test it out and see if our robot can detect our black tape. So I've got my program turned on. We want it moving forward. And there you go. It detected the black tape and it stopped immediately. So we used our color sensor to detect the color, and now our robot can make decisions based off measuring the colors in its surroundings. If you had a problem with your program, just debug it, make sure the ports are lined up, make sure the values are lined up, and I encourage you to try out the program and look what the different options would do. So what happens if we use a different type? So instead of less than, we use more than. And what would happen if you use a different threshold? You can also change the speed of your robot. I encourage you to play around with the program and see what the other options, what effect that has on the robot's decision making. And I'm gonna leave you with the question, is how can we make our robot make decisions if it's moving backwards? So we've worked with our robot making a decision if it's moving forwards, but do you think it's possible for a robot to go backwards and make the same decision? I'll leave you with that question, see if you can answer it, and that's it for today's build. So we talked about how robots are able to act, move, and think like humans are able to do. We have some great videos that display the lengths and skills of a robot and how far technology can go in terms of advancing the movement and thought processes of robots. So the first video is the RoboFest competition, which is a competition where robots battle each other out using different skills. They have to traverse different types of So that's it for today's build. We talked about how robots are capable to move and think just like humans are able to do. We have some videos to show you that display the skills and So that's it for today's build. We talked about how robots are able to move and think just like humans are able to do. We have some videos that show just how skillful robots can be if you program them to make certain decisions. So the first video is the RoboFest competition, which is a skill-based competition using robots. They have to fulfill certain quests in order to win the competition. So I'm going to show you that video just so you can see how powerful a robot can be if you program it correctly. The second video is the RoboFest parade, and it shows all the different types of robots that people have designed. So this is one robot, but people have gone through great lengths to make bigger robots, more creative robots. You can really make a robot look however you like. So I'll show you that video so you can see the display of different robots that people have made. And then the last video is the Amazing Machines video, which shows you what a robot is capable of doing. There are examples of robots being able to solve Rubik's Cubes and play chess, and even being able to tell if you're cheating in chess. So I'll show you that video just so you can see the remarkable skills of a robot. So you saw all the skills of a robot and just how powerful they can be if you program them to do certain actions. They go far beyond just detecting a color and stopping. They can do a lot of magnificent things. They can act as if they have a brain like a human, and we saw that can work using a mechanical structure that they're able to move. They can act as if they have a brain and make decisions with the use of sensors. And with our program, we're able to calculate and measure the surroundings around the robot for it to make decisions. And it can have sense organs using the different types of sensors, not just the color sensor, but there are various types of sensors like the temperature sensor and others that allow the robot to do pretty much anything you want it to do. So that's it for today's build. I've enjoyed learning about the color sensor with you guys, and we will see you for the next build. Bye everyone.